Amravada Barahaba. So, everybody got the place? Ravada Barahaba?
Bo Patar?
It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines down from the up from the bottom, and it's the last 5 words of the line. Amravada Barahaba.
Got it.
Right?
Rava Adava said, Lo Patar Rabbi Yehuda Eila Sad Haras Shabu. Reb Yehuda absolved, and it's got the owner of the mood that was watched with the lesser guarding, only with respect to the mood portion of the ox. Aval Sad Tammuz Bimkomo Omedes.
Yeah.
But the tum portion remains in its place. That's as clear as mud.
Okay, so what is this? Yeah, right. So he's saying that there's such a thing. First of all, in Rabbi Yehuda, there comes out sort of a counterintuitive conclusion, what would seem to me. But he says that an animal that hasn't been established as a dangerous animal, a tam, needs a shmira bu'ula, to be guarded, a superior guardian, whereas an animal which has already been established, Huad B'Valov, it's been established in Bezdin through testimony 3 times that he's displayed his dangerous propensities, and he's gored, so he's a muad now. He holds, it's based upon the psukim, that a shmira puhusa, a lesser than superior guardian, will exempt him. So we're trying to understand how could that be? That does it make sense to say that he's going to have lesser obligation on a short muad than on a short tam? How could that be? So Ravada Barahaba is explaining that no, that's not the pshat in Rabbi Yehuda. Not the pshat in Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, that's step 1. But here we have to understand what this means. Look, Rabbi Yehuda. So that's what Rabbi Yehuda holds. A short tam requires a superior guardian, and a short muad requires only a less than superior guardian. Now, we have to add into this calculation that we know that there's a stringency though on a short muad. It pays nezik sholem for the damage that it does, and a short tam only pays chatzi nezik, half damages for the damage that it does. Okay? Now, we introduce this idea, Ravada Barahaba, that Rabbi Yehuda only exempts when he says that all you need is a shmir pusa, a less than superior guardian, in regard to a short muad. He's only exempting the tzad ha'ada shabo, the chalik, which the animal would be chayav to pay, which not the animal, but the owner of the animal would be chayav to pay over and above chatzi nezik, because that's the difference between the payment of a short muad and a short tam. A short tam pays chatzi nezik. A short muad pays nezik sholem. What part are we talking about when we say he pays nezik sholem and chatzi nezik? Well, you might have thought to say, well, it's pashut. If let's say the short tam does 500 damage. So what does he pay? He pays 250. a shor muad, let's say a shor muad also does the same 500 damage. How much is he going to pay?
500.
He'll pay 500. That's if he didn't. And what happens if he? What happens if a shor muad pays? What happens if the owner offers a shmira pachusa for his shor muad? Shmira pachusa. That's the less than superior guarding, which Rabbi Yehuda says that's the standard which exempts a shor muad. So how much is he going to pay if the owner guards a shmira pachusa?
Apparently nothing.
That's what we would have thought to say. He pays nothing.
So this says 250.
So this says 250. How do you figure that out? How does that make sense?
Because it says that he only exempts the muad portion, but not the tam portion. So the tam portion is hetzi nezek. The muad portion is shalem nezek.
Okay, good. So in this calculation, according to Reb Ada bar Hava, he divides the nezek that the animal does into two halakim, into two parts. There's a part. There's the first chatzi nezek chelik. There's the first chatzi nezek that would be paid by a shor muad, and then there's the second chetzi nezek that a shor muad would pay, right? Because a shor muad pays nezek shalom. Nezek shalom is composed of chatzi nezek plus chatzi nezek. So here in this case, if this shor was guarded, a shmir pachusa, a minimal guarding, and he nevertheless damaged 500. So, according to this opinion of Rav Ada bar Hava, that shmir pachusa, which is an exemption of liability, according to Rav Yehuda, will only exempt the animal from the second chetzi nezek, which he would pay since he's a shor muad. Since he's a shor muad, the owner pays nezek shalem. So that means not only does he pay the first chatzi nezek payment, but he pays the second chatzi nezek payment too. He pays nezek shalem. He pays chatzi nezek plus chatzi nezek. So says Rav Ada bar Hava, Rav Yehuda, when he says there's an exemption, if he guards the shmir pachusa, that's in regard to the second chatzi nezek payment, which is specific for the shor muad. Okay, so he'll be exempt from that second chetzi nezek because he guarded a shmir pachusa. What about the first chetzi nezek payment that he's got to pay for damage, for this animal's damage of 500? That he's not going to get away on that with just guarding a shmira pachusa, a less than superior guarding. Because that is called the tzad tamus shabo. That's called the tam chelik of payment. In other words, a muad payment, according to Rav Ada bar Hava, is composed of chatzi nezek tam payment and another chatzi nezek because it's a muad. So this that he guarded, shmir pachusa, only exempts him from the second chatzi nezek payment, which a muad pays. But the first chatzi nezek payment, the only way to get patur from that is to guard a superior guarding, like you would by a short tam. The only way to exempt, if the animal's a short tam, so all you have is one chatzi nezek payment to make. How can you patur yourself from that? Only by making a shmira Ma'ula, a superior guardian. So if all the owner of this shor muad did was to guard him a minimal guardian, not a superior guardian, so he'll exempt himself from the second chetzi nezek payment, which is exclusive to shor muad, but he won't exempt himself from the first chetzi nezek payment, because that chetzi nezek payment, we're saying, is allocated to the chelik of shor tam, so to speak, and it gets the halacha of a shor tam, that you won't be exempt from that payment unless you guard a shmira ma'ula. Now, is that all clear, Roy?
Are we attributing to the ox that he's partly mud and partly tam?
No.
No.
What's the animal? He's 100% mud.
Mm-hmm.
But we are dividing the requirement to pay.
Uh-huh.
The animal is a mud 100%.
Mm-hmm.
But how much is the obligation of a shor muad to pay is the question. He's obligated to pay nezek shalom if there was no guardian at all.
Right. Oh, I see.
But and this that we say that he can exempt himself, the owner, if he offers a shmir pahusa, that's only in the second half payment, because we're in other words, you're right, Roy. We're making a split over here. We're not splitting the animal; he's 100% shor muad, but we're splitting the payment obligation of the owner.
Mm-hmm.
The payment of the obligation of the owner is that he always has to pay chatzi nezek if he doesn't guard a superior guardian. So the only thing that a shor muad does is add on that he has to pay full damages if he doesn't guard at all. But if he guards a minimal guardian, a shmir pachusa, he could exempt himself from that nezek shalom payment. But the only way to exempt himself from the first chatzi nezek payment for any animal, regardless of whether he's a tam or a muad, is to guard a shmir ma'ula.
Maybe I don't get it fully, but I get a little bit more.
So, in other words, think of it this way. According to Rabbi Bar Hava, the din of shor muad, according to Rabbi Yehuda, doesn't come out so illogical.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the case, according to Rabbi Yehuda, that a shor muad, that you guard a minimal guardian, you're going to be totally exempt. No, there's no such thing. How could it be that he's judged more leniently than a tam? How could it be? He'll surely have to pay what?
You still have the problem that if there's a lesser guardian, then both a tam and a muad pay the same amount, even though you would think a muad should pay more because it's established to be a dangerous animal.
Well, we're saying that to be fully liable, he has to be fully liable. It has to be that he didn't guard the animal at all.
Right.
He's always going to pay. In other words, the only added stringency. This is the point which is it's not the case that a shor muad is more lenient than a shor tam. He can't be more lenient than a shor tam. Right. But in order to get him to have to pay Nezek Sholem, it has to be that he's not going to guard him at all. If he guards, at least if he's guard, in other words, if you guard a Shmir Pechusa, you'll always only pay Chatzi Nezek. You'll always only pay Chatzi Nezek according to Rabbi Yehuda. If you guard a Shmir Pechusa, you'll always pay no more than Chatzi Nezek. It's just that when you have a Shor Mud, you have the possibility of having to pay full damages if you didn't guard.
Right.
Whereas by a Tam, you'll never have that possibility. There's no way, no matter what you do, you'll ever have to pay more than Chatzi Nezek.
Right.
But by a Shor Mud, if you didn't guard, you have to pay Nezek Sholem. So that's the stringency that comes out according to Rav Bar Hava, the way he explains Rabbi Yehuda. That's the stringency. But there's no case that Shor Mud will end up with a more lenient din than a Shor Tam.
Right. We fixed that problem.
That won't be. That will never be. Okay. Okay. Let's go further. Okay. Maybe we have a Rashi. We have a Rashi about Sad Tamus B'Mkoma Umbedes. Lou, you want to read? About Sad Tamus B'Mkoma Umbedes. It's about 10 narrow lines up from the wide lines of Rashi.
About Sad Tamos B'Makoma Omedet. But the side of the Muad,
about the what?
the side of the Muad,
No,
Aval Tzad
Tamus. Side of the Tam.
side of the Tam stands in its place.
Right.
Okay, so this is saying, just talking about in the case of a Muad, the Muad has a Tam side, and that one stays where it is. Right? Delo Sagi Le Bechusa Umesalam Umeshalem Chetzi Nezek. That we do not Sagi with Sagi.
It's not sufficient. It's not enough.
Sufficient with a lesser guarding, and he pays half the damage.
That he pays what? That he pays
Half damage.
That he pays.
So
that he is what? Muad.
Is a muad,
Yeah.
and it's not sufficient with a lesser guarding. Its lesser guarding is not sufficient, and he pays half.
A lesser guardian is sufficient for the tzad ha'ada shabo, for the portion of the second Katzinezek that needs to be paid in the case of a Shor Muad when he does damage. Shor Muad does damage, he pays Nezek Sholem, meaning he pays 1/2 the tzad tamus, and another half tzad ha'oda. Even though he's 100% Shor Muad, but the payment allocation is split in half. Half of his payment is regarded as the pay, as we call it, his tam side, and the second half of the payment that makes the Nezek Shalom is called the Muad half. So here we're saying that the Gemora said that the side of the tamus, the first chetzi nezik of the payment, remains in its place. What do you mean that it remains in its place? It means that it doesn't change. What do you mean it doesn't change? Says Rashi. Look, sagile b'pchusa. It won't be sufficient for him to guard a minimal guarding to escape liability on the tzad tamus of the animal. The tzad tamus is the first chatzi nezik, the first of the two chatzi neziks. There's nezik shalom, which is made up of chatzi nezik rishon and chatzi nezik sheni. First chatzi nezik and the second chatzi nezik. This first chatzi nezik payment is regarded as the tzad tamus, because that's what a tam pays. So it has the halachas. This first chatzi nezik payment remains in its place that it has the halachas of a short tam. Meaning he won't escape liability unless he guards a superior guardian. So lo sagile b'pchusa. It won't be sufficient for him, meaning the owner of the animal who's guarding it, to offer a pchusa, to offer a minimal guardian. U'mishalim chatzi nezik. And therefore, he'll pay chatzi nezik on the tzad tamus. So in our case, where the animal damaged 500, and the owner offered a shmir pchusa, we would have thought to say, according to Rabbi Yehuda, a shor mud, all you need is a shmir pchusa. That's what he did. He's pater and gansen. No, he's not pater and gansen. Only on the tzad, only on the second half is he going to be pater with a shmir pchusa. But the first half is called the tzad tamus. That retains the halachas of requiring a shmir ma'ula. And since he only guarded a shmir pchusa, lo sagile. It's not sufficient, not enough to get out of liability. And therefore, shalom chatzi nezik. You'll have to pay 250. You'll have to pay 250. He won't be totally exempt for giving a shmir pchusa on a mu'ad. That's the chiddush of Rav Ada bar Ahava. That's the chiddush. Okay.
Good.
Now we go weiter. Okay, Lou, you want to read?
Amar Rav. Rav said,
Amar
Muad le Karen, a muad for a horn, yamin, a right horn. Eino muad is not a muad. The Karen small is not a muad for the left horn.
Right.
So in other words, if a muad gores with one horn, I guess instead of two, 3 times, and it's always the same horn, then we say that he's a muad for that horn, but not for the other horn.
Right. Right. The other horn he doesn't gore with.
Right. And I think the footnote said something about could be that he has like one bad side. It's not really the horn; it's the side. That he gores in this direction.
That's how he gores.
Something's wrong with we're wrong with him, and it makes him gore in that direction.
Okay. Whatever the reason is.
Whatever the reason. Amre, they said.
So what's the nafkamina from this din of Ram? What happens if he's going to gore with this animal, if he's going to gore the 4th time with his Karen small? What's going to be the din?
Zatam. Pays chatzi nezik.
He'll only pay chatzi nezik. He'll only pay chatzi nezik if he gores with the Karen small, because he's not a muad in regard to goring with the Karen small, because he always gores with the Karen yamin. So this is called he's a time. Okay, so he pays chatzi nezik.
Amr, they said, Aliba Deman, according to who? Says who? Im Aliba de Rebbe Meir. If it's Rebbe Meir who says this, ha'amar echad tam ve'echad muad shmira. Then he said one tam and one muad shmira. In other words, you have to guard with the same shmira.
Okay, this is an expression.
Oh,
When we say echad tam, echad muad, the word echad over here doesn't mean one. It's like a expression. It's a way of saying whether like this, whether like that.
Whether it's a tam or whether it's a muad, shmira me'ula boye. A superior guarding is required. So, in other words, according to Rabbi Meir, it wouldn't make any difference whether it's whether it's left-sided or right-sided, tam here, muad there. It's going to have the same requirement for guarding. So there's no hava amina. There's no point in saying this. Correct?
Well, that's in terms of the, okay. In terms of the requirement of guarding, doesn't matter whether it's tam or muad. You always need to have a shmira mu'ula, so it wouldn't make a difference in regard to that halacha, according to Rebbe Meir. So therefore the whole din of Rav, what's the difference, whether it's a muad or tam?
But wouldn't there still be a difference, even according to Rebbe Meir, in the payment amount? Whether it's one horn or the other horn?
Yeah, but that's something that everybody agrees to. Everybody agrees that the muad pays nezek shalom and a tam pays chatzi nezek.
Right, but I'm saying there is a havamina, whether it's the left horn or the right horn, not in terms of guarding, but in terms of payment.
Oh, but the Gemora is not asking over here my nafkamina for what Rav said. Certainly there's a nafkamina in what Rav said in terms of the payment, whether it's going to be a tam or a muad. The Gemora is not asking that question. The Gemora is not saying, Rav, what's the difference with your halacha that you're saying over here? Surely there's a difference. Like we said before, if he gores with the right horn, there'll be a payment of nezek shalom. If he gores with the left horn, there'll be a payment of chatzi nezek. That's for sure.
Right.
But the Gemora is asking a specific question. The Gemora understands that this statement of Rav, he's saying this in light of the opinion of one of the Tanoim over here, Rebbe Meir or Rebbe Yehuda. And the Gemara is trying to figure out, well, who would it be that there would be a nafkamina over here according to the way they hold. So according to Rebbe Meir, there wouldn't seem to be any difference in regard. In other words, there's two possibilities of Chatzi nezek shalom is same according to everybody. Everybody agrees to that. And we understand what Rabbi is saying, that there'll be a difference based upon the right and the left horn.
Okay.
But in terms of the obligation of shmira, in the terms of the obligation of shmira, if it's a muad or a tam, that'll be a nafkamina according to whom? Not according to Rebbe Meir, says the Gemora. The Gemora wants to know, who is Rav saying this statement according to? Says the Gemora, it wouldn't appear that it would make any difference according to Rebbe Meir. Because according to Rebbe Meir, there's the same level of shmira required of both a tam and a muad. You need to have a shmira mu'ula. So therefore, this that Rav said what he said, in terms of the requirement of Shmira, doesn't make a difference for Rebbe Meir. So Rav would not have been saying this with Rebbe Meir in mind. So now the Gemora has only one other alternative. So who could it be?
I aliba de Rebbe, de Rebbe Yehuda. If it was stated by Rebbe Yehuda, my Iria Keren Smola. Why does it mention the left horn?
Yeah. Why do we need to hear this distinction between the left and the right horn, according to Rebbe Yehuda either?
I don't get the question.
The Gemara's gonna
let me read on.
elaborate.
Afilu biyamin nami, even with the right, or also is be tzad tamus, the is be tzad muad. There is a side of a muad and a side of a tam.
Right.
So, according to Rebbe Yehuda, who says that they pay the same for both for one or the other. Is that what it's saying?
What the Gemara is saying over here is, Yoliba de Rebbe Yehuda. If we say that Rav said what he said with Rebbe Yehuda in mind, my area Karen small. Why then did he mention specifically the Karen small? Meaning that there would be a difference between the Karen small, which would be not a muad, as opposed to the Karen yamin, which would be a muad. Afilu yamin nami. In other words, what's the din of the Karen small? The din of the Karen small is that it's that's the tzad tamus of the animal. If he gores with the tzad with the Karen small, so there's only a possibility of paying chatzi nezik, and there's only there's a requirement of shmira me'ula on it. So the Gemara says, afilu the yamin nami, even with the right horn, is beit sad tamus v'it is beit sad muledis. It has, in other words, the payment schedule when the right horn gores also has a tzad tamus as well as a tzad muedis to it. See here, there's a long Rashi. Let's take a look at, see what we can see from this Rashi. We'll have to work on this one. What time is it?
It's 12:25. Oh, it's a long Rashi.
Yeah, it's a long Rashi. Let's start this. I'll say this Rashi. Let's start this Rashi. You have a few minutes, Roy? Or you gotta leave?
Okay.
So enthusiastic.
Where's the Rashi?
Leave it man. It's okay. So leave it man. So that's the Gemora. This is the Gemora's question. Leave it man. Literally, what this means is according to whom. Meaning to say, we're not really asking what Rabbi Meir or Rabbi Yehuda hold. We're asking what Rav, is he saying what he's saying according to Rabbi Meir or according to Rabbi Yehuda? Does he hold like Rabbi Meir or does he hold like Rabbi Yehuda? According to whom he holds, he most probably is saying this din. He's saying a further elucidation of the din. Just like Rabbi Barahaba, he was saying a further elucidation in the din of Rabbi Yehuda. He's mentioned Rabbi Yehuda specifically. He said, Lo Savar Rabbi Yehuda, Ela da 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 da. Okay, so we see exactly Rabbi Barahaba, he's talking about Rabbi Yehuda, he holds like Rabbi Yehuda, and he wants to say this din in Rabbi Yehuda. But Rav didn't tell us anything about that. He just said, Muad L'Karen is, Yamin is Eino Muad L'Karen small. So, one second says the Gemora, Rav, what do you, Aliba Daman, according to whom are you saying this? In other words, the Gemora envisioned that Rav should have said, Lo Savar Rabbi Yehuda, Ella, Muad L'Karen Yamin, about Eino Muad L'Karen small. He left out who he's holding like in saying what he's saying. Says Rashi, Libidaman Kloimer, Havadai le'inin tashlumin lo yitztarek le'lerav lash me'ina. Certainly, says Rashi, the first step is that in regard to the payment, Chatzi Nezek for a tam, Nezek Shalom for a muad, lo yitztarek le'lerav lash me'ina. We don't need to hear this statement, what Rav is saying over here. Dili Yamin Nezek Shalom, who is small, Shalom Huad Lo, Mishalom Chatzi Nezek. That since the right horn is a muad, so he pays Nezek Shalom, and the left horn is not, so he'd only pay Chatzi Nezek. We don't need to hear that according to Rav. Haigavna Tuva Tanan. Such examples abound. We've had before. We've learned many cases like this. Afilu muad la'adam, eino muad la'behema. We learned that there's such a din that an animal that gores a people, and he becomes a muad to gore people. He gored 3 people, so he becomes a muad, but he's only a muad in regard to Adam. Those are the 3 times that he gored. Eino muad lebehema. But even a behema, which we would have thought is a lesser, if he already was able to gore a person 3 times, certainly he should be muad in regard to guarding, in regard to goring an animal. An animal is easier to gore than a person, according to the Gemora. But no, we don't say that. We say this is what he gored, this is what his tendency is, that's what his nature is, he gores people. But animals, he leaves alone. We cannot assume that he's muad for a behema if he's been demonstrated to be a muad 3 times by goring 3 people. If we say that, says Rashi, so kol shekain muad l'karen yamin shehut sad chazak. According to the correction, he takes out the hay. That's his strong side. The right side is his strong side. So he gores with the karen yamin. So, of course, says Rashi, eino muad l'smol. We would hardly even need to hear the din of Rav altogether, says Rashi. The Gemora is saying. So, in other words, in regard to the din of payment, Hatzi Nezek and Nezek Shalom, based upon whether the animal is a muad, Rashi seems to be saying that the Gemora is saying that there would be no need for Rav to say this. All the more so, we would say in this case that surely if he gores only with the right horn, he's not a muad on the left horn, and the payment would be accordingly. Ella. So therefore, what? Vadai Rav le'inyan shmira ashmeinen. Rav is coming to teach us something in regard to the requirement of shmira. That's what Rav is coming to teach us. Not coming to teach us anything in regard to the payment, but in regard to the shmira. Yeah, but according to whom is he coming to teach this? If we say he's coming to say in according to Reb Meir, but according to Reb Meir, the requirement of guarding is exactly the same for a tam as for a muad. So it wouldn't make any difference whether the horn is a muad or is a tam. In regard to the obligation of shmira, it's the same obligation. Okay, then Rashi says, Lo Garsinen, Iyaleva de Reb Meir Pshita. There are manuscripts, apparently, that even were extant at the time of Rashi, that had this text, Iyaleva de Reb Meir Pshita. Rashi says, we do not accept that manuscript. I believe it's mistaken, says Rashi. He doesn't go with that manuscript. But in any case, now he says like this: V'igar sinen. But if you want to go with it, hachi meforish. Yes, hachi mefrisha. This is the way it would be explained. You leave the Reb Meir. If Rav is saying his din about the horns, according to Reb Meir, that he holds like Reb Meir, Inyan Shmira, and he's speaking about the requirement of Shmira, Lo Yashme'in and Rav. We don't hear anything from what Rav is saying, because there would be no difference between the Shmir Mula and Shmir Pechusa for a Tam and a Mud. It's both of them are Shmir Mula. So it has no practical halachic ramification. What Rav is saying. Ella, what must we say? The Inyan Tashluman Ashme'in. So then you'll have to say that he must be saying in regard to a matter of payment. Says Rashi, Pshita, that's obvious. That what Rav is saying, that an animal which is moved in the right horn is not going to be moved in the left horn. Because we have many examples from previous Mishnayos in Bava about this point. And Rashi mentioned one of them before. Okay, so all he was doing here, Rashi, is to explain according to a text that he doesn't hold from, and the bottom line that comes out from here so far is that it could not be that Rav was saying what he was saying because he holds like Reb Meir. Because according to Reb Meir, he's not saying anything. We don't need him to say it. So therefore, we're going to have to go and say that it must be that he was saying what he's saying according to Reb Yehuda. And on that, the Gemora had a question on that too. Why would there be a need to say what Rav is saying according to Rabbi Yehuda either? It wasn't as obvious as it was according to Rabbi Meir. But in any case, the Gemora says it doesn't seem to be that there is reason to say it according to Rabbi Yehuda either. Ella, leave it to Rabbi Yehuda, B'Yashme'in and Rav. So what should we say? Rather we have to say he's saying what he's saying according to Rabbi Yehuda, Yashme'inin Rav, and then we hear from Rav the following thing: Te'im Shamru Shmir Pusa, if he gave a minimal guarding, V'yotza V'hezik B'keren Yamin, and the animal went out and gored with his right horn, Shahuid law, that it was a muad on Pater, he's going to be exempt. The muad b'shmir Puchusa Sagile, because it's sufficient to guard a muad with a shmir Puchusa, with a less than superior guarding. V'nogach b'smol, if he guards with the left horn, chayiv, then he's going to be chayiv. In that case, where he guarded only a shmir Puchusa. Tam lo imait, the shmir Puchusa, because according to Rebbe Meir, a tam was not excluded from the
Rabbi Yehuda.
Oh, sorry. But according to Rabbi Yehuda, he doesn't tam loy amit l'shmira chusa. Right. According to Rabbi Yehuda, a tam was not excluded like the mud was to only need a shmira pachusa, meaning it needs to have a shmira pahula.